Okay. In the last session, we completed remaining AP setups. Also, we created one more user and we assigned AP role as well as business unit. Right now we are ready with all the setups and we created one more user. So we'll just log into the system with that user also. So here is our user, Alt-INC. First, we'll navigate to invoice creation page from our user. Go to navigator. Under payables, click on invoices task. This page we call as invoice workbench, or we can call it as invoice work area. Click on task. Click on create invoice. Click on create invoice task. Now, so here, if you click on business unit field related drop down, we can see all the business units which are created within this instance. But we assigned only one business unit to this user. How come this user is able to access to all the BUs? Just because of application implementation consultant role. We assigned application implementation consultant role to this user. That is the reason we are able to see all the BUs. We created one more user called as APRTINC, right? Just cancel this page. Now switch to different user. So other user we created as a AP Alt-INC. If you log into the system as Alt-INC, this user will have access to payables. You can go to navigator or directly you can see here payables, all invoices. Payables, all invoices. We assign accounts payable specialist role to AP Alt-INC. Click on invoices. Specialist role will allow us to create all invoices. Go to task list, click on create invoice, and here also we have an option to create. Click on create invoice and click on drop down. This user got access to only one BU. The reality for business users, this is how we provide access. Which user need access to which business unit, that we can provide by using the task called as data access for users. That's what we did. For Alt-INC, we are able to see all the BUs just because of application implementation consultant role. So this is a point we should understand. We'll go back to Alt-INC user, since we have all kind of privileges to do the setups and to perform the transactions. Go back to invoice creation page, payables, invoices. Go to task list, create invoice. Here we are able to see many business units, but whenever we come to this page, we want to see our BU only. Our BU only in the sense, since this user got access to application implementation consultant, by default, will have access to all the BUs. Whenever we navigate to invoice creation page or any other page, wherever you see the BU field, our requirement is system should pick our BU automatically. You can select manually. You can select Alt INC and you can create invoice. Select supplier site, enter invoice number, amount, line information, distribution. We can fill and we can complete the invoice. But I don't want to select BU every time. If we have access to only one BU, it's easy. Like I can click on drop down and I can select or else system can select directly. But here we have access to all the BUs. Whenever we come to this page, we want to see our BU in this field as a default. If you want to set default BU for this user, we have option called as profile options. Okay, there is a option called as profile options. By using the profile options, for which user, which BU need to be defaulted when we have a multiple BUs access for specific user that we can set in the system. We'll go and see how to set up the profile option. Go to setup and maintenance task. Okay. Go to task list, click on search. Here search for administration profile options or administrator profile options. You just search with the term called as profile values. Here is the task. Manage administrator profile values. Manage administrator profile values. Click on this task. Okay, manage administrator profile values is the task name. And what we want to do, we want to set default business unit for our user. Search for the profile option. Hope you are taking all the points. Default business unit. Click on search. Now here is the profile option related record. Okay, search for default business unit. Here we have the same profile option related record. Profile display name is default business unit. Profile option code is default org ID. So org ID is nothing but BU ID. For every business unit, there will be one ID system will allocate. So you may change the business unit name later, but ID will remain as it is. ID is the unique. It will get stored in the backend and just you can see from from front end also will be able to see the number. We'll see that later. So this is the BU name. I mean, this is the profile option which is designed for to set the default business unit. Now go to profile value section. Okay, this is the profile option name. With this profile option, we are going to set which BU should be defaulted for our user. Here, click on new, click on new, and here select profile value as a profile level as a user. The default business unit you want to set at what level? User level. Only one option we have. And select our user here. Select our user. Alt INC. Okay. And select our BU name. Here is our BU. Select. Now save and close. So this is how for each user you may set different BU if you have multiple BUs, or else Same BU for multiple users or each user different BU. When those users will have access to multiple BUs, one you can set as a default. Say save and close. Done. So it will take some time to get synchronized. So better you can log out and log in so that you will see the quick update. To see the quick changes, log out and log in, and we'll go on to review. Go to payables, click on invoices task and click on task pan. Click on create invoice task. Now we are able to see our business unit without selecting. For this user, we have set Alt INC US business unit as default. If you want to record invoice for another business unit, yes. Anyway, you have access to all because of application implementation consultant role. You can override, you can select any other BU, you can record the transactions. So that's all about the profile option, which we have to understand. Now we'll see how to create invoice. Okay, already discussed. The invoice structure is header, line, and distribution. Here is header. Here you can enter the lines. Line for each line will have a distribution. You'll see that. If you are creating invoice based on the PO number you have to provide here. Okay. After few classes, we'll do the inventory purchasing related setups so that we'll be able to create invoice based on the PO and receipt. Okay. Fine. So we want to create invoice within this business unit, and the supplier name is Alt INC. You select your supplier. Select supplier. When you select supplier, automatically system will take site. The reason we have only one site. If you have multiple sites, you have to select from drop down and provide invoice number. So the invoice what we are entering, the invoice now what we are recording is, this is invoice from the supplier. So when you get invoice from the supplier, that invoice we have to record in the system. As per that invoice, whatever the number is available, we should input the same number in the number field. If you don't enter same number, tomorrow if you have any issue with that invoice, when you call to supplier, supplier will first ask you, tell me invoice number. If you are maintaining the actual number, you cannot help the supplier to provide the number, and they cannot help us to look into that issues. I mean, like when we are entering invoice in our system, before us, they generated invoice in their system. That invoice they will send us the same copy, will enter in our system. That means all the time you have to enter the number which supplier is providing. But here, I'm just giving the number. For our testing purpose, any number you can provide. Invoice amount, say $5,000. And what type of invoice we are creating? Standard invoice. Standard invoice means the invoice which you receive from the supplier against the purchases what we did or services what we rendered. We may purchase the goods or we may take the services. It could be anything. We create as a standard invoice. And payment terms system is taking. What are the payment terms you set as a default at supplier site level that it will take here? Otherwise, you can select. So this is a different instance. The another instance in the last session we have set last session or prior session, we have set different payment terms at supplier site level. So here I'm using the common reference data set in this instance. Same setups I did. What are the instance we used for our class last two sessions? So in that it is not opening the sub invoice creation window. Okay, it is not opening the invoice creation script page. That is reason same setups I completed in this instance. Now we are running the class. Okay, so business unit level common reference data set is assigned. That is reason here you can see all the payment terms. You can create the separate reference data set. You may assign three payment terms or four. In that case, you will be able to see two or three payment terms here. That's how it works. So we provided invoice header information and go to lines. Expand lines and create one or multiple lines. Create one or multiple lines. Invoice header amount is 5,000. You may enter two lines, but two lines total amount should be equal to header amount, or else you may enter only one line, say 5,000. The 5,000 is belongs to what? Internet expense. So where we given the distribution set as per our previous classes. Anyone please? We have given distribution set in one of the setup where we have given.
Supplier setup.
Yes. Supplier site level. This site level, we selected our distribution set as a default. That is the reason system is taking here. If you don't select at supplier site level, it won't default. Still, if you don't want to use the distribution set, you can remove that and go to distribution combination field. Directly here you can enter this 5,000 is belongs to which expense. If you want to use the distribution set, you can use. If you want to change the distribution set, you can change here, or else you enter manual distribution. Now without distribution set, I want to enter, I want to provide manual distribution. So this 5,000 is belongs to some expenses. Pick any one of the expense accounts, select contains, and you can give the term as a expense. Okay, just you can give any. So recruiting expenses, provide rest of values. Say okay. Okay, fine. Now, if you select distribution set here, inside of the distribution, which accounts we have, you can see with the help of distributions tab. If you provide the distribution account directly in the line level, the same you can see from here also. There is no big difference. If you are selecting distribution set, inside of the distribution set, which accounts we have, those we can see with the help of distribution set. Directly, if you are entering line level, the same will reflect in the distributions. Click on distributions. Just click on distributions tab. This line level, whatever the account you entered, you can see in the distributions also. 5,000 against recruiting expenses we entered. The same you can see here. If you provide the distribution set here, directly we cannot see the accounts line level. Those accounts you can see from distribution. Now directly we give an account and we no need to do that. Or I'll say this 5,000 out of 5,000, 4,000 is belongs to this account and add one more row or nothing but line. Here enter 1000. System is defaulting the distribution set from supplier. Accept it. Now you select this line. Inside of this distribution set, which accounts we have, how the amount is, this 1000 is distributing. If you want to see, click on distributions. So inside of the distribution set, we have only one account, internet expenses. You can just click on distributions and you can see what accounts we have in the distribution set. This $1000, how system is going to distribute across multiple accounts if applicable, or a single account. And if you enter distribution combination line level, you don't need to go and check at distribution level directly. That information is visible. So this is how we have to enter the invoice information. So the total 5,000 is the invoice. Invoice amount is total 5,000. Two lines, total amount is equal to invoice header. Even if you go to this line 1, distribution level we have 4,000. If you select line 2, if you go to distributions, there also we have 1,000. That means distribution level we have total 5,000. Total line amount is one line or multiple lines, doesn't matter. Total lines amount is 5,000. Header amount is 5,000. Then system will allow us to validate this invoice. After providing these details, click on validate. To validate this invoice, go to invoice actions, click on validate. Click on validate. So needs revalidation. Okay, needs revalidation. Just means there is something wrong with this invoice. That is a message system is giving. You click on needs revalidation, you can understand what's wrong with this invoice. Click on needs revalidation. So here is the message. Distribution variance. System hold. System placed hold because there is issue with the invoice distribution. Okay, distribution variance. So distribution level, there is some variance. Header amount, distribution amount, okay, not matching. So you see here, 5,000 we given here. This line level, what we did, initially we entered 5,000, later we updated, but distribution level, we left 5,000 only. Only if you select line 1, if you go to distributions, distribution level, we have 5. Line level 4 means distribution level also should be 4 only. Update to 4. Now save and close. If you select this line level we have 1,000, same should be in the distribution level as 1,000. Now 4 plus 1, 5 at distribution level. Here 4 plus 1, 5. Here also 5. Now again submit this invoice for validation. Again system will look into all these header line distribution level amounts. If everything is fine, it will accept and it will update the status as validated. Click on validate. Now our invoice status is validated. If invoice status is validated, you can select this invoice for payment. If invoice status is validated, you can select the invoice for payment. Before payment, if you want to create accounting entries, yes, you can create. Before making the payment, if you want to create the accounting entries, we can create. So first we'll create accounting entries and we'll transfer that information to GL application, and we'll see how to process the payment for the same invoice. Now click on validated status. Here we have information Invoice status. Validation is validated, accounting is unaccounted, payment unpaid, due date is, this is the due date because we are using immediate payment terms. We are using immediate payment terms. So here we have a holds. We'll deal with the holds concept separately. Just now we have seen if header amount is not matching with the lines or line amount is not matching with the distribution, automatically system placed hold, and by correcting, system release that hold. Now we are going to create accounting for this invoice. Go to invoice actions. We have post to ledger and account in draft. Two options we have. If you select account in draft, system will create draft accounting, sample accounting. It is not a real accounting. Just for before you create the real accounting, if you want to just preview, okay, if you want to preview how it would create, if you want to preview, you can select account in draft. Okay, if you want to preview before you do reality, if you want to check, means preview, you can select account in draft. If you create accounting in draft, that information you cannot transfer to GL. If you want to transfer that accounting information to GL, you have to select post to ledger. If you select post to ledger, what system will do is it will perform multiple actions. If you select post to ledger, what system will do is it will create final accounting. It will transfer accounting entries to GL. It will post journals in GL. Okay. There are three actions system will perform in the same sequence. If you select post to ledger, system will create final accounting. It will transfer the accounting entries to GL. Finally, it will post journals in GL. Okay. Post to GL. And if you select draft, if you perform the draft accounting, it will create sample accounting. Just sample. This you cannot send to GL. It's not a only final entry you can send. Final action if you perform, then only that data will go to, it will create real accounting as well as will be able to transfer to GL. Okay. This is the difference between post to ledger and a draft. So we'll just for our understanding purpose, we'll perform the draft accounting. Click on account in draft. Select account in draft. Just wait for a moment. The confirmation message. The accounting has been completed. If you want to view the accounting, click on View Accounting tab. And we have two accounts as per our distributions. We have two lines and two accounts. Those two accounts system is taking as a debit. You see here, the recruiting expense debit for 4,000. And here another account is internet expense account is debiting with 1,000 and total 5,000 it is taking into liability account, accounts payable account, liability account. And here you can see status is draft. Even if you click on post to ledger, same entry, but status it will take as a final. Final means that entry you can transfer to GL. This is just for preview. Before you do something, you are checking, that is a preview. Once you complete something, you may review. Okay, this is how system is creating accounting. Now we don't need draft just for our understanding we created. Let's create final. Go to invoice actions. We have post to ledger. If you click on post to ledger, system will create final accounting entry. It will transfer to GL. It will post in the GL. When you select post to ledger, make sure GL periods are open. Okay. The GL accounting period is open for current period. The GL accounting period is open for the current period. Means current period should be open in the GL. Yes, the period is open. We have seen how to open GL period. Now select post to ledger. Select post to ledger. The accounting has been completed. Click on view accounting. Same entry. Status is final. So now it created, it will transfer to GL, it will post the journal entry in the GL. The same accounting information. These two accounts are debiting. This account is crediting. With these three lines, system will create journal automatically and it will transfer to GL as it is as a journal. Now the question is, from where system is taking these two debit accounts? Anyone please? From where system is taking?
Natural account.
From where it is taking?
Distribution.
Sorry?
The distribution.
Distribution. It is taking these two from the distribution. Okay. Don't take as a, don't understand as a from lines. No, from line, the accounts will go to distribution. From distribution, how many accounts we have? All the account system will debit. And again, I'm going back to the validated status. Click on accounted. Already accounting is performed. If you want to view the accounting, click on accounted status. So it is taking these two accounts. Okay, two accounts. You can simply call as expense accounts or charge accounts. You can call as expense accounts or charge accounts. As per Oracle class, they given as item expense. Simply you can call as charge accounts or expense accounts. This two account system is taken from the invoice distribution. What about this accounts payable account or liability account?
Liability account taking from supplier.
Payable options.
So we have seen liability account field is available in the common options and supplier site. Have we given any liability account at supplier site level?
No.
No. If you provide liability account at supplier site level, it will take from supplier site. First system will look at supplier site. If no liability account is available at supplier site, it will go to common options. It will take from the common options. Now you tell me from where it is taking in our case.
Payables options, system options,
Common options.
common options. Yeah.
Common. Why it is taking from common options?
Site doesn't have account.
Yes, site level we didn't provide any account. That is the reason system is taking account from the common options. If you provide liability account at supplier site level, so whatever the site we are using to create invoice, that site level available liability account, it will pick and it will create accounting entry. So this is the point we have to understand. Close it. And what system will do? It may take from the common options, it may take from the site. The sequence is first it will check at site. If it is not available, it will take from the common options. So it may take from the site or common options. First that account it will copy to invoice header level. Invoice header level, if you click on show more, If you go to accounting tab, first it will copy that account to this field, header level. The same account it will use for accounting. So this account it is taking from where, that totally depends on where and where you give in the account. If you don't give any account in the site level, it will take directly from common options. That means this account it is taking from common options. It is using the same account to create the accounting entry. Okay. So what is the accounting entry for invoice means? The expense account is debit or charge account is debit, liability account is credit. From where system is taking the charge account? From invoice distribution. From where system is deriving the liability account? If available, it takes from the supplier side. If that is not available, it takes from the common options. Okay. So from where debit accounts and credit account system is deriving, okay, deriving, we should know it is deriving charge account from the invoice distribution, nothing but expense account. Liability account, it can derive from site if available, otherwise common options. The accounting entry, what we are discussing in case of manual invoice. If you are creating invoice based on the PO or receipt, that is a different entry we will discuss. Now we created a manual invoice. So here is the accounting entry. Fine.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
Is there any SOX complaint because the person who enters the invoice cannot be posted to the GL as per the current gap requirements?
Yes, yes, yes. The SOX complaints are kind of GRC, governance risk complaints, we can build. For that, what we do is we create the custom roles. From the custom roles, what we can do is what actions you want to allow the user to perform, you can do all this. Not only that, as per SOX complaints and all, the person who is able to create supplier, they are not allowed to create invoices. The person who is able to create invoice, they are not allowed to make the payments. The person who is able to make the payment, they should not have access to bank account creation. Right?
Yeah.
These all are the complaints. These all are the complaints.
The
Those,
option what you see under the invoice actions, straight away it goes to post to GL. The post to GL comprises of 3 combinations.
correct. No, I'll come to that point. It's not like one way of doing. Here we have an option and we have
Okay.
other options where you just can create the accounting. You can create the final accounting, but you don't send to
Yeah.
GL. Separate program we have. We'll cover. Yeah. No, I'm telling that options. These options you can
No,
control.
I agree. I want to clarify if there is any changes has taken place. That's what.
What changes?
No, from the old version to the fusion, if they made any drastic changes, that's what I'm asking about it. But the options what you have in the invoice action or the call, this all makes sense. But is there is any special options available? That was my question.
Okay. For that, you can use the application called as RMC. Risk Management Cloud Services, which is as per GRC. Here also you can call as GRC. Governance and risk complaints. There is a separate application. Okay, separate offering. What you can do is you'll have a models. Okay, you'll have a models. There you can adapt the models as per SOX complaints, as per your internal policies. So what will conflict? What is not allowed? You can deploy all the models as per GRC or RMC. RMC means Risk Management Cloud. Okay. GRC means Governance, Risk and Complaints. Decidedly, this terminology we use as per EBS. In Fusion, we are calling as RMC. By using this application, so you need RMC consultant to do that. Okay. So once
Okay.
you implement there, you can set all these rules, the SOX complaints, what is allowed by single user, what is not allowed, means what is not allowed by single use specific user, those all you can list out, you can deploy those respective models. Somebody will keep running that programs. When they run, what is conflict in the organization if it is really happening, means invoice privilege and payment privilege should not be given to one user, but somebody assigned that two privileges to one user. Now when you run that program in the RMC, system will notify and it will generate the report saying that for two users there is a complaint issue. Okay, invoice and payment is provision
Done.
to these two users, it will display. Then somebody will take the action, they'll just get into that, why this access is given, we should not give any special case. So that's how they will focus, and again, they may remove the access, they may allow because of some reason. This all you can just monitor. You are
Okay.
not going to prevent. If you want to prevent, directly here you have to do the role customization. Okay, by customizing the role you can achieve, but if you want to keep eye on, so any issues with the complaints, we use RMC or GRC in the Fusion applications.
Thank you.
Yep, thanks. Fine. It is not new in the Fusion. It is there in
Yeah.
EBS also. Okay.
Terminology and the things
Sorry?
change. The terminologies are changing, that's all.
No. Only even in a Fusion also they are giving as a GRC. Okay.
Mhm.
Application point of view are calling as RMC. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Risk Management Cloud. The naming convention they are given as that, but it is a GRC only. Both names they are giving. If you go to offerings level, you can see if you open the financials, if you click on edit there, there will be governance, risk and compliance, same name. But anyway, both are same.
Thank you.
Done.
Lakshman, there
Yep.
was a tab of override account. After once account is create account is done, you can change the over account. You can change the accounting.
Yes, you can change it. You can change and it will reflect. I'll show you with other invoice because here we entered two accounts, debit accounts.
Okay.
That is the reason I thought of not touching that. Okay. We'll
Sure,
create
sure.
one more
Okay.
invoice. I'll take you through. Otherwise, multiple accounts, it may bring some confusion for somebody.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, I'll take you through
Lakshman,
that. Yeah.
the date, just the date it's showing. In EBS, we have a invoice date and GL date, right, at a header level.
Okay. This date is the date when invoice date you can take. So GL date we have in EBS, right?
Yes.
So GL date purpose is with which date accounting need to be generated.
Yeah.
If you want to see that in Fusion, you don't see as a GL date that we are calling as accounting date. Go to show more. Under accounting tab, here is the accounting date. This is nothing but GL date as per EBS.
Okay.
Yeah. GL date purpose is accounting. That is the reason in the Fusion directly the name label they updated.
Okay. And currency, if you select different, automatically this conversion rate type and all required
Yes,
mandatory,
yes.
right?
First we have to set that currency conversions and it will happen automatically. We'll work on that. That is separate concept. Okay. Foreign currency invoice, foreign currency payment will be testing. There we will do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, fine. So done. So we created accounting and we'll go and see whether accounting entries transfer to GL or not and posted or not. So you just instead of switching all the times from one page to another page, better you can open one more tab by duplicating the same page. Now go to GL application. General accounting. Click on journals. Go to task list. Click on manage journals. Now if you click on search, with this December month, whatever the journals are available, all it will show, irrespective of those belongs to which source. But we want to see only the journals which are coming from payables. So select source as a payables. Okay, we want to see journals which are belongs to payables application. Okay, which are coming from payables that we want to check. Click on search. From payables, only one journal can come because we created only one invoice, we accounted. So you can see journal created, it got posted also with the 5,000. And see the source is payables, means where this, from where this journal is coming from payables, and category. Okay, so what type of transaction is this? That you can see with the category. What type of transaction, whether this is invoice transaction or payment transaction, invoice. So category means type, or you can say purpose also. With what purpose we created invoice purpose, or simply you can say what type of transaction. Source means, so from where it is coming or where it got generated originally, and category means which type of transaction or which purpose of that, what purpose the transaction was created, that can be identified with this category. So it is coming from payables, and the payables what we created invoice or payment invoice, purchase invoice. So click on name, journal name, batch name, automatically system created. So from where it is coming, it is taking batch name and some internal running number, and journal name it is taking in which month that invoice got generated and what we created. Category itself it is taking as a journal name. So automatically it is taking the naming convention, and the journal batch is posted, you can see. And here you can see the same information. These two accounts are debiting and this account is crediting. Okay. So two accounts are, please go on mute. Please go on mute. The two accounts are debiting, this account is crediting. Now say, I have access to only GL application. I am working on GL and I want to understand the 4,000, this line is belongs to which supplier. I want to understand more detailed information about this line. So we have a capability of drilling down to source transaction. As a GL user, I may have access to only primary ledger. I may not have access to payables application, but I can drill down to payable original transaction with read-only access. So I want to understand this 4,000 is belongs to which invoice and which supplier, whether the amount is paid or not, I want to check. So if you want to check, click on line amount. Click on 4,000. Here, expand transaction information. Here you can see the details. The 4,000 is belongs to this supplier and this is address. As per payables, this is invoice number and total invoice amount is 5. Invoice created in USD. Invoice creation date is this. Payment status is not yet paid. Okay, if you pay some partial amount, you can see remaining amount here. And this invoice belongs to which legal entity. And you select BU, automatically system will select legal entity. And still you want to see more detailed information. You can click on view transaction. Directly it will navigate us to AP invoice page, but read only access. Because we are drilling down from GL to AP. So click on view transaction. So this is how invoice got generated in AP. The invoices belongs to which business unit, which legal entity, supplier, site, address, and invoice type is standard. Okay. So two lines are there within that invoice. And the distribution also you can see. If any payments are processed, you can see here, we didn't process any payments. This is a read-only access, you see. This is invoice creation screen, but we are accessing from our ledger, not from our BU directly. It's read-only access. You can't do anything. If you have access to payables, you take the payables navigation. Go to invoice workbench or invoice work area, and you can perform certain actions. You may create or you may edit anything. But now you cannot do anything. We are drilling down from GL to AP application. Just click on done. This is how you can drill through from journal line to source transaction.
Lakshman, can we export this data
Yeah, please.
into Excel?
Sorry.
Can we export this data into Excel? Normally we have export option, right, in
Yeah,
EBS.
you can see here export Excel.
Okay.
Yeah. Fine. We'll create one more invoice and we'll understand few other points. Okay. So go to task list, say create invoice. See, the business unit system is defaulting as Alt INS US business unit. And since only one business unit we created, that system is taking here. And also we assign the same legal entity at BU level as a default legal entity. We assigned our primary ledger legal entity to our BU by using assign business unit business functions task. So for this BU, this LE is a default. If you have multiple legal entities, here you can change the legal entity. When you are entering the transaction, say by using the same business unit, you want to record the transactions for multiple legal entities. Then here the field will be drop down. If you have more than one LE, you can change the legal entity and you can record the transaction. That is possible. Select supplier, type Alt and use tab, it will fetch automatically. And enter an invoice number, say 2222. Invoice amount, I'm entering just $100. And go to lines. System is taking the distribution set from supplier side. I'm accepting the same. Entering line amount as $100. The same $100, whatever the account is there inside of the distribution set, it will take into distribution. Now directly I'm going to validate this invoice. Validated. Now I want to perform the accounting. Goes to ledger. View accounting. The distribution account is debiting, liability account is crediting, or else a charge account. It could be any expense account. You can call a charge. Charge account is debit, liability account is credit. Now we created accounting entry. This information is transferred to GL also. We'll go and check. Search. There should be journal with $100. So $100, it's selected for posting. It is posting. Open the journal. Status is posted. Amount is $100. So we posted $100 to internet expense account and other side liability account by default. Accounts payables are liability same. We posted. Now accountant realized that they posted $100 to wrong account. We go to validated status, click on validated, go to accounted. So they identified the $100 posted to wrong account. The account should be miscellaneous expense. By mistake, they posted to internet expense. Now, here you cannot do any changes. If you want to cancel this invoice, you can cancel. Okay, you can cancel the invoice. Now already invoice is created and validated. If you want to delete, it is not possible. You entered invoice, you didn't do any actions, simply you saved, then you can delete it. But already you validated and accounted and transferred to GL, you cannot delete this, but you can cancel the invoice. If you cancel, system will create the reverse entry for entire invoice. The same it will be transferred to GL also. Everything will be cancelled and you have to create new invoice. But you don't want to create new invoice. If when you create new invoice, you cannot provide the same invoice number. Okay. So for this supplier, you cannot provide this invoice number again. You have to give some other number. That is the reason you want to correct that within the invoice only. Just issue within account. You can change the account. Let's see how to change the account. Go to validated status and click on accounted status. Now this account is wrong. $100 posted to wrong account, that is internet expense. This account should be miscellaneous expense. Now what you can do is select this line. Okay, select specific line where you entered some wrong information and click on override account. Click on override account. Click on override account. Here, this is the current account. And what is the correct account that you have to provide as new account? Which account is right account to choose? Select here. Say miscellaneous expense account. And say, okay. Provide the reason why you are changing, just we are correction. Or else you can say it's posted to some wrong and we are correcting, or simply you can write it as a correction. Click on submit. Okay, click on submit. Now it will create reverse line. So now see here. The journal entry line has been overridden with a new account and has been submitted to GL to post, transfer and to post the entry. So the original entry is our internet expense account is debit. Okay, this account. Internet expense account is debit and liability account is credit. Liability account is credit. This is the original entry. Okay. Okay. Line number 1 and line number 4. These two lines are original lines. Now what system did? You see. If you want to take miscellaneous expense as a debit, first this line should be reversed. That is the reason this is the debit line. It created credit line with the same account. Internet expenses. Okay. Here it is debiting, system credited. That means it will get nullified. The result will become 0. Which account is debiting? If you credit the same account, we are just offsetting, it will become 0. Now, which is the right account we need? That account system taken here. Whatever we given, it is taken as a debit. Now, this account with this line, it will get nullified. Same account, debit and credit, it will become 0. Now, valid line is this. So, miscellaneous expense, debit, and same liability. Now, we corrected. Now, these two lines, okay, these two lines to reverse existing line and to take the correct account, another line. With these two lines, automatically system creates journal entry, it will transfer to GL. It's already happened on the fly. You can go and check. Here once again, search, you can see one more journal with $100. Here if you go, what it will show? As per AP invoice, which account is debited? Internet expense. Now it has to credit the same account. It should debit the miscellaneous expense account. See here, it is crediting internet expense accounts. Crediting. Already debited, now it is crediting. And now it is debiting the miscellaneous expense. So in this journal, we have like this. In the previous journal, we have internet expense debit. In the previous journal, internet expense debit. In this journal, internet expenses account is credit, nullified. In the previous journal, liability account we have. In this journal, we have miscellaneous expense. This is the final entry. So whenever you do the correction in the payables application, that correction will trigger the process to generate the reversal line related entry in the AP. That's how the corrections can be updated in the GL accounting also, not only AP accounting. Okay, this is completely automated. So that's all about account override. Okay, account override functionality for invoice or payment. It is not only for payables, we have in other applications also. Whenever you perform accounting, you can do it. Even after making the payment for this invoice also, you can do that. After making the payment for this invoice also, you can do. For payment also, you can do. Any accounting entries you create in the payables application or say sub-ledger applications, you can go and do the accounting related correction. No, you don't want to do any corrections, completely want to cancel this invoice. Yes, you can cancel. Okay, cancel, it will create the reversal accounting entry. It will reverse the entry since you are canceling, everything will get nullified. So this is all about overriding the account. Any questions here, please?
Lakshman, so as you said, we can classify or override an invoice if it is been unpaid or paid, but we cannot cancel it if it is paid, correct?
Override not. See, override not, invoice override not, accounting override, specific point. After making the payment, if you want to cancel, yes, that is also possible. That action you have to perform from the payment record. You created invoice, you paid, you identified, you paid to wrong supplier. Payment you can void. Okay, you can void the payment. Then system will ask, what about invoice? You are voiding the payment. What about invoice? You can say, keep invoice on a hold or else cancel the invoice. You can select actions. Okay.
Okay.
Possible.
But if the payment has already been received by the vendor and then?
See, payment is already received. That is, see, in the system you are recording the payment. Okay, system you are recording the payment. So already payment is received by supplier, that you can, what you can do is you can manage outside of the system. Inside of the system, whatever the payment you did, that is wrong entry, right? That you have to void. Then you can reopen the same invoice, or else maybe you made the payment with the wrong account or whatever it may be, wrong information. You want to again reprocess, you may reopen that invoice, or else you can completely cancel the invoice. If you already supply received and all, again just how to deal with that, that need to be adjust with the other or how it is, the business will take the decision. Inside of the system, what is possible means, yes, even if you process the payment, you can void it.
You can create a debit note against them.
You can record the refund in that case. Yeah, different. How you want to handle. If you are going to get that money just back from that supplier, you can record as a supplier refund, or else you can void the invoice. Okay, you can void the invoice. You can move this invoice on hold. Later, you can release that hold. You may cancel this invoice, or else the moment you void, immediately you can cancel this invoice.
Okay.
Yeah. how you want, what is the, how you are going to deal with that use case, accordingly you can take action. We'll see once we make the payment, we'll talk about it. Yeah. So these are the points we have to understand. Now we'll see how to process the payment for invoice. Okay. How to process the payment for this invoice.
Lakshman, one doubt on invoice.
Yeah.
The invoice date and the accounting date, it will take from open period and the current system date, or we can specify any date from the open period.
See, here we have in the invoice options, you have a specifications. By default, it takes current dates. When you are entering invoice, you can change the invoice date. Say you received invoice 1 week ago. Okay. You are entering today. By default, system will take today's date. If you
Okay.
want to change it, you can change it. Invoice you received 20th. You are entering in the system. You can take the invoice date as a 20th. And here you have to understand this term, this field. 1 second. When you create invoice, so this is the invoice date. I'm creating invoice today. If I'm okay, this date okay, or else I want to record exactly when this invoice got generated from supplier level, supplier side, that I can choose. Okay, invoice date is 25th. And here we have another field called as term date. Term date is nothing but the immediate payment term system has to calculate from which date. Okay, if I select payment term as say 30 days, this 30 days system has to calculate from which date, that can be determined by this term date. If I select immediate payment term, and if it is, this is the date, this date 29th plus 0 days, 29th is the due date. If I change to this date as 26th, now what system will do is 26th plus payment terms, how many days? Immediate 0. 26th plus 0, 26th only due date. So payment terms, if it is a 10, 26 plus 10 days. That's how it will calculate. This you can enter. This you can enter invoice date. By default, system takes the today's date, like system date, even invoice, like accounting date also. If you look at accounting date, so accounting date system is taking as 25th. What is the reason you given here? Okay, invoice date as this automatically system is taking. So this date, term date and all, which system has to take, you can set. For that we have a control in the invoice options. You go to invoice options. There we have a default, so you can set. Open invoice options. Select your BU. Save and close. Here you can see. Term date basis. Invoice date. Okay. So whatever the date you provide here, okay. So it will take the invoice date. Term date basis means with which date you are creating invoice, that date it will take. Close and open. Invoice date is 29th. Term date also same. Okay. So if not invoice date, okay, term date means payment terms need to be calculated from the invoice date. This is the meaning. But your like you calculate differently. Goods received date. Okay. Goods received date. When you create this invoice, matching with the PO, and there will be receipt. Goods received date means you are creating invoice based on the PO and receipt. When you receive the goods, there will be information as per your receipt. When you create invoice, you're matching with that receipt, PO and receipt. From there, it will take the date. System will calculate due date from goods received date. You placed order and with after 5 days we received the material. That date it will take. Okay, that date it will take as a term date. From that date, system will calculate your payment terms. If not that, you can search here invoice receive date. So invoice receive date. Here you will be entering the invoice when you exactly received. So when you received maybe 27th, if you take 27th, the same 27th it will take as a term date or else system date. System date. Here, when you received invoice and all doesn't matter for system. Okay, this date always it will take your system date. So this is how you can set. The payment terms always calculates based on the term date, from term date only. Term date is the base. From that it will calculate the dates and all. That's how it works. Another one, accounting date basis. By default, invoice date. Okay. Here, invoice date. Here, whatever the accounting date system is taking. Okay. Here date is 29th. Here it is taking accounting date as a 29th. Reason, here it is set to accounting date base. On what date base system has to take the accounting date based on the invoice date. If invoice date is 1, it will take accounting date as 1. If it is 2, 2. If not that, what options we have? Accounting date. Whether system has to copy the invoice date to accounting date or system date. System date means invoice date you may enter something else. You may enter something else here. Invoice you received on 25th. You may enter 25th here. But accounting date system has to take system date. If you select system date, it doesn't copy. It is not going to copy your invoice date as a accounting date. It will take what is the today date. That date it will take. Invoice date can be current date or past date, or it could be any date. That's how it will take. Or else you can take here. Goods received or invoice date. When you can use goods received or invoice date. So if you create the invoice, if you create invoice based on the P1 receipt, goods received date would be there. That date you can, so automatically system will fetch. If invoice is not created based on the P1 receipt, whatever the invoice date we have here, that only it will take here. Invoice date it will take as accounting date. That means that is equal to this invoice date. But here there is option. If your receipt is available, P1 receipt is available, receipt level, whatever the, when we receive the goods, that date it will copy to accounting date or invoice date. If no P1 all, P1 receipt, whatever the invoice date we have, that date only it will take for accounting. Otherwise, we have goods received or system date. Okay. If PO, you are creating invoice based on the PO or receipt level, you will have a received date, goods received date, that date it will take. If no P1 receipt, when you create invoice, simply it will take the system date. Okay. This is all
Got
you
it.
can just specify how client is expecting. Fine?
Yeah, fine. Thank you, Lakshman.
Yeah.
Lakshman, can we see the source here?
Source
Invoice
means
source. Invoice source. Like
invoice source
manual.
we created here only, right? In the payables itself.
Yeah. No, the field can we see at invoice
Yeah.
level?
You just click on this recent invoices. These are the 2 recent invoices we created. Scroll right here, you can see the source.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the invoice form also we can see this.
Invoice form level, no, they don't give all the attributes. Okay, here you can see directly. This is invoice record only, right? Invoice record. Even still, if you want to see something else from here, you can see. You can go to columns, say show all. Wait for a moment, it will add. Columns, show all. If any hidden columns are there, it will display here. This is the max table.
Okay.
Fine, this is how you
And
can check. Okay.
okay,
Lakshman,
Lakshman,
Yeah, please.
Lakshman, having different this accounting date, as if, for example, you are entering the invoice today, but accounting date you are taking the previous date, 2 seasons in a row. And what business scenario is going to help us actually?
Come again. Invoice we are creating today.
Correct. You are entering invoice today, but
Hmm.
goods received month back.
Hmm.
So in what scenario you are accounting today actually? So to be
Hmm.
honest, you are accounting today. So how it is going to be help us and what
No,
business?
no, no. See, if generally like you don't, if you are creating invoice immediate base, okay, you are receiving, you are creating invoices, you are receiving the material, you are creating invoices immediate base. Maybe there may be 1 day, 2 days delay between receiving and entering in the invoices. That is the case. It is okay. You can go with invoice creation date is something and goods received date is different, but still the accounting date you can take goods received date. So immediate action, if you are taking that option, you can use. Otherwise, that is not advisable. Reason is, so you received goods last month. Okay, you are entering invoice now. So last month, if you are taking that, that invoice is that period is already closed, right?
Correct.
You
Correct.
cannot perform the accounting. Those scenarios will not support. If you have a practice of receiving, creating invoices, you may have a 1 day delay or 2 days delays. That you can. There is no big challenge. If you want to track like that, you can track. Otherwise, it is not like that. We don't use that approach. Immediate
Correct.
means you may use. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Correct. Otherwise, accrual
Yeah,
interest
it
will
will
be
create issue, right? It will create issue
correct.
all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Fine. Fine. Any other questions here? Whatever we completed so far based on that question.
Lakshman, here we validated invoices one by one, right? If we have multiple
Yeah, we will
invoices,
do that. We'll do that. We can create a validation for all the invoices. For all the invoices at a time, we create accounting. We'll see those one by one. We are going step by step.
Lakshman, how to find a particular invoice? If we say 100 invoices are there, so I want to
Yeah.
search a specific invoice.
You can go to task list. Here is the manage invoices. Click on manage invoices. So you want to find out invoice what you created 2222. If you want to filter with your supplier name and all, you can do it. And hit search. So this is how you can find the invoice.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Yeah, fine. Now, let's talk about payment. We have two invoices. Here is the infolet. Recent 3 days I selected. Click on 3 days, it will turn into 5 days. Again, click on turn into 7 days. Okay. By default, 24 hours. Within last 24 hours, two invoices are created. Those two are here. If you select this infolet, it will display this information. Now, so I want to make the payment for this invoice. So my requirement is I want to pay full amount for this invoice. I want to pay partial amount for this invoice. If you want to pay full amount, you can pay from here. Okay. So to make the full amount, okay, to process the full payment for this invoice, open the invoice, go to invoice actions and click on pay in full. Okay. Click on pay in full. Open the invoice, go to invoice actions, select pay in full. If invoice status is validated, then only you can make the payment. if invoice status needs revalidation, of any holds are placed, if invoice need to be submitted, if invoice is pending for approval, you cannot make the payment. Approvals and all we'll see after some time. Okay. So if invoice is pending for approval, you cannot make the payment. So invoice should be validated. So you may account it, may not account it. Accounting is not a trigger point. There is no, like, it won't become a showstopper to make the payment. So click on pay in full. To this to this business unit, we assigned one bank account, right? Our bank account we assigned to this business unit. So whatever the bank account we assigned to this business unit, automatically system is taking it. We are going to pay $100. So the bank account, here is the bank account. System, how it is taking the check? Anyone, please?
Based on the supplier level, we check the payment method as the check.
Yeah, supplier level, not, it has to be exact point, supplier site level.
Yeah, correct.
Right? Supplier site level we have set as a default, as a check. That's how it is taking. Where you can see that information. Go to invoice actions, click on manage installments. Click on manage installments. The manage installments, you can see payment method. So it is coming from supplier side. From supplier side, it is defaulting to invoice installments. From here, it is taking when you are making the payment. Here is the due date for your invoice. Here is the due date for your invoice. So based on the payment terms, it is taking due date. If you want to override, you can override. I spoke to my supplier and supplier agreed to pay on 31st. I can update. I can say save and close. For this invoice, due date is 31st. If I want to pay now, I can pay. So we'll see how to pay. Invoice actions, pay in full. So to process the payment process profile is mandatory. Select our payment process profile. Select payment process profile. Select payment document. Automatically system is taking the document number, check numbers. We given at this document number in the bank account, same it is taking. Now click on submit. So by using this bank account, we are paying $100 to this supplier. Say okay. Whenever you make the payment, automatically system will create payment file. Okay. Automatically system will create payment file. Go to tools, schedule process. Automatically system will create the payment file by using payment format which we assigned at bank account level as well as payment process request level. We selected standard check format if you remember. So here system is running format payment files. It is running since we recorded payment. Once you click on save, payment will be recorded. It will generate the payment file. It generated payment file. So this file system will generate based on the format. You can open and see. Select. Here we have a log and output. Click on one more. Click on PDF. So what data system is going to print on the check, that information is here. So this is how data is arranged with the standard check format. Okay, this is how data is arranged with standard check format. Okay, so amount, date, this is the date, system will print through printer on the check. If you insert physical checks in the printer, okay, so this information will be printed. We will have a check leaf check which will insert in the printer. This date will be printed on the check, but these need to be modified by technical consultant. The amount will be printed and invoice will be printed on the check, and in the pay to, the supplier name will be printed. So these alignments should be done by technical consultant, so that this data exactly will be printed on the check as for check format. How the check layout we have, accordingly it will be printed. Okay, so from here, if you click on print, the printer is configured with the system, you can just do this.
What is the 10,000 that
10,000 is the check number.
check number?
Yes. Fine. Done.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's how you can process the payment. Now click on save and click on validated status, and you can see payments. $100 paid. $100 paid. Now, if you want to see the payment record, go to payment workbench. Invoices, payables, payments. The navigation is payables, payments. Go to task list. Click on manage payments task. If you remember check number, yes, you can enter the check number. Payment date is today. Our check number is 10,000. Search. Or else you can filter with your supplier name. Here is the payment record. Payment number is nothing but check number. Payment document is alt INC check. Payment status is negotiable. What does it mean by negotiable? We created payment record. We process a payment. It is waiting for clearing. Okay, just we process payment. Supplier has to submit the check in the bank and it has to come for clearing. And finally, once the clearing activity is performed in the cash management, once reconciliation is done, the status will be updated as a reconciled. Okay, it will be cleared. That is the reason, since it is not cleared, reconciliation status is no. Reconciled, no. To whom we paid? To the supplier. What is the payment date? This date. This date only will be printed on the check. This date, this amount, this supplier, payee name. Okay. So now open it. You can see paid invoices here. Go to paid invoices. So this is a check number. By using this check, we process payment to this invoice. Okay, if you click on this number, it will drill down. You can open the invoice, some information from here also. Okay. You want to see the invoice details? Yes, you can check like this. Now, we'll create accounting for this invoice. Okay, we'll create accounting for this invoice. Okay, or else we'll see that part later. We'll create one invoice and we'll run through that accounting. Let it be. We just processed full payment. Now my requirement is I want to pay partial amount for this invoice. Invoice amount is 5,000. Now I want to pay only 1,000. If you want to pay 1,000, you cannot pay from here. If you go to invoice actions and pay in full, it will take total amount. We don't have any scope to edit. So if you want to pay partial amount, go to payment workbench, manage payments. So from where we create invoices that we call as invoice workbench, from where we create in payments, process payments that we call as payment workbench or payment work area. The payables, go to payments. Click on task list, click on create payment, and select supplier. System is defaulting business unit because for this sub user, we have set Alt INC as a default business unit by using the profile option. Now select supplier. Okay. Select supplier. Ignore that message. It is defaulting the site and all. So payment date is today. Type is quick. Okay, here we have a different values. Quick. Quick means if you want to print the check from system, we use quick. Manual means already you paid given check outside of the system. You don't want to print any check from the system. You given check to somebody, you written and you given. To whom against which invoice the payment is given outside of the system, you want to record in the system. Okay, if you want to print, you use quick only. If you don't want to print, manual. Refund means you may give advance to supplier. Supplier may refund since you are not going to purchase anything from supplier. Or else by mistake you pay to some supplier. Supplier may refund. That you can record by using the refunds. We'll deal with those topics also later. So here keep as a quick because we want to print the check from the system. By using which bank account you want to make the payment to this supplier. Select bank account and select payment process profile and select payment document. Now system is going to use 10,001 check. So we are going to make the payment to this supplier, only the invoices which are belongs to this site only. Only this site related invoices you want to pay, and by using this bank account, by using this check. So what about invoice? That invoice we have to select here. For which invoice you want to pay, that we have to select here. Only one invoice is available against this supplier which is unpaid. Select this invoice, click on apply and say okay. Now we want to pay only $1,000. Invoice unpaid amount is 5,000. We want to pay 1,000 only. Now click on this record. Just click on the record. Now record is editable, turn into editable mode. How much have you? Unpaid amount is 5,000. Always it is 5,000 only. You cannot change this. But how much you want to pay? The payment amount is how much? You want to pay only 1,000. Done. Click on save and close. Here go to advanced tab. If already printer is installed and configured in the system, directly you can say print now and you can give the printer information. Okay, here you can provide the printer information, select. So the moment you click on save, automatically system will print the check from the printer. Or else it will create the file. You can go on to print manually. You can just click on print and you make sure checks inserted in the printer. Click on save and close. Payment is recorded. This is how you can pay partial amount also. Okay, fine. Done. So we'll create multiple invoices. In the next session, we'll see like accounting for invoice, accounting for payment also. Yeah, those just will go through. So without creating accounting for invoice, you cannot create accounting for payment. If you want to create accounting entries for payment, invoice accounting is mandatory. We'll see all those in the next session. We are done for today. If any questions, please stay back.